In the dead of winter, February 1978, five young men from Yuba City, California, vanished into the night, leaving behind a chilling mystery that continues to baffle investigators to this day. This is the story of the Yuba County Five. Our five men were Gary Mathias, Jack Madruga, Jackie Hewitt, Ted Weiher, and Bill Sterling. They were all friends, ranging in age from 24 to 32, and shared a common bond. They all had mild intellectual disabilities or psychiatric conditions. They were known locally as the Boys, a close-knit group who lived with their parents and spent most of their time together. Their favorite activity? Basketball. They played on a team called the Gateway Gators, and on the night of February 24th, 1978, they were ecstatic. They had a big game scheduled the next day, a tournament where a win would mean a free week-long trip to Los Angeles. After a pre-game practice session, the five friends piled into Jack Madruga's turquoise and white 1969 Mercury Montego. They were last seen at a local convenience store, stocking up on snacks and drinks for the road. They were supposed to head home, get a good night's sleep for the big game, but they never made it. When none of the men returned home that night, their families grew frantic. This was completely out of character. They weren't the type to stay out late without calling. A massive search began, but for days, there was nothing. No car, no sign of the men, just silence. It was as if they had driven off the face of the earth. 3 days later, a park ranger made a startling discovery. High up in the remote Plumas National Forest, miles off any main road and deep in snow, was Madruga's Mercury Montego. It was unlocked, and one window was rolled down. Inside, the snacks and drinks they had bought were neatly arranged. The car was in perfect working order, with a quarter tank of gas left, more than enough to drive back down the mountain. But the men were gone. The car was found on a muddy, winding dirt road, a route that made no sense for them to have taken. They were heading home from Chico to Yuba City, a straight shot south. The forest road was in the opposite direction, leading them higher and higher into the treacherous, snow-covered Sierra Nevada mountains. Why would they abandon a perfectly good car in the middle of nowhere, in freezing temperatures, without proper winter clothing? Jack Madruga, the driver, was known to be meticulous about his car and hated even his family driving it. It was highly unlikely he would have willingly driven it up a dangerous, unpaved mountain road. Investigators were stumped. There were no signs of a struggle. It was just an empty car and five missing men. The search continued, but heavy snowstorms soon blanketed the area, making any further efforts impossible until the spring thaw. The families waited through a long, agonizing winter, praying for answers. For months later, in early June, as the snow began to melt, the mystery took an even darker turn. A group of motorcyclists discovered a Forest Service trailer about 20 miles from where the car had been abandoned. What they found inside was horrifying. On a bed lay the emaciated body of Ted Weiher. He had wasted away, losing nearly half his body weight. He was wrapped in 8 sheets, as if someone had tried to keep him warm. On a table next to the bed were his wallet, his ring, and a gold watch his family had given him, ruling out robbery as a motive. The most perplexing part? The trailer was stocked with enough food to have sustained all 5 men for months. Sea rations and dehydrated meals were in the storage shed, but only a few cans had been opened, and seemingly only with a can opener from the trailer, not the P-38 can opener the men would have known how to use from their military service. Even more bizarre, a propane tank connected to the trailer's heating system was full, but had never been turned on. All they needed to do was flip a switch for warmth. Instead, it seems they had built small, ineffective fires inside. Weiher had survived for an estimated 8 to 13 weeks in that cold, dark trailer, slowly starving to death, surrounded by food and heat he never used. His shoes were missing, and investigators found Gary Mathias's sneakers nearby, suggesting Mathias had also been in the trailer. Weiher's feet were severely frostbitten. The discovery of Weiher's body led to a renewed, intensive search of the surrounding area. Soon after, the remains of Jack Madruga and Bill Sterling were found about 11 miles from the car, on opposite sides of the same dirt road. It appeared they had succumbed to hypothermia. Madruga's body had been partially consumed by animals, but his car keys were still in his pocket. Sterling's remains were scattered, with only bones left. 2 days later, searchers found Jackie Hewitt's skull and a single backbone a short distance from the trailer. His father positively identified the remains from dental records. Of the 5 men, only Gary Mathias has never been found. So what happened that night? The leading theory revolves around Mathias. Gary Mathias had schizophrenia, but was on medication and was functioning well. However, he had a history of going into psychotic episodes when he was off his meds, sometimes getting into trouble and then wandering off. His family believed he might have had a minor episode that night. Perhaps he suggested a spontaneous trip, and his friends, loyal to a fault, simply followed him. Another piece of the puzzle came from a man named Joseph Shantz. On the night the men disappeared, Shantz had gotten his own car stuck in the snow on that same mountain road. He suffered a mild heart attack trying to free it. He told police that late that night, he saw headlights approaching from behind him. A car pulled up, and a group of men got out, along with a woman holding a baby. He called out for help, but they fell silent, turned off their headlights, and then he saw them walking around with flashlights. Later, he saw the flashlights again, this time further up the road. When he was finally rescued the next morning, his car was just a short distance from where the Montego was eventually found. Could Shantz have seen the Yuba County Five? And if so, who was the woman with the baby? Was it a hallucination brought on by his heart attack and the cold, or was there someone else on that mountain? The theory is that the men, perhaps trying to avoid Shantz or for some other unknown reason, drove further up the mountain until their own car got stuck. Fearing they'd get in trouble for being out so late, they decided to walk, looking for help. Maybe they saw the lights of the ranger station's trailer in the distance and headed for it, a grueling 20-mile trek through deep snow. Once there, for reasons we may never understand, they didn't or couldn't use the resources available. Perhaps they broke into the trailer and were afraid of being caught, so they only consumed what they thought wouldn't be missed. The intellectual disabilities of the men might have played a role. Maybe in their panic and confusion, simple tasks like operating a propane tank seemed insurmountable. Weiher, being larger and less fit, might have stayed behind while the others went for help. Sterling and Madruga likely died of exposure trying to walk back towards civilization. Hewitt succumbed near the trailer. And what of Gary Mathias? Did he take Weiher's shoes, which were more suitable for the terrain than his own sneakers, and venture out for help, only to perish somewhere in the vast wilderness? Or did something else happen to him? His family has always held out hope that he might have started a new life somewhere, but with no evidence, his fate remains the biggest question mark. The case of the Yuba County Five is a tragic story of friendship and a perplexing mystery. It's a chilling reminder of how quickly a normal night can turn into an enduring nightmare. 5 friends went out, happy and excited, and entered a puzzle that has no solution. We are left with only questions. Why did they drive up that mountain? What happened inside that trailer? And where is Gary Mathias? Decades later, the silent snows of the Sierra Nevada mountains still hold the answers. Thanks for watching. If you have any thoughts on this case, share them in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe, and let's keep breathing life into stories that were never meant to stay silent.